Part 5, Braille Textbooks.
So then the blind itinerant walked in the day before we went on spring break and said, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Like, she goes, which would you like first? And I'm going, not sure. Why does this happen every time I'm going to leave for a while? But go ahead. And I forgot what the good news was. I guess the bad news stuck with me so on. Well, the bad news is when you come back after break, we don't have any more textbooks for them. They don't, wherever we were getting the textbook from, didn't Braille it, or they didn't have the whole rest of the third and fourth quarter of the book. And the other problem was, too, is the shipment. We were shipped the wrong book at the very beginning also, so that put us behind. Then he could only carry so many in his bag, so then we started storing them in my room, but when the new shipments came in, nobody brought them upstairs, and he would need it, and they're downstairs, and they're locked, so he didn't have a book all the time. So that was a major problem. So now what do we do with no book? And I said, well, you know, I'm not sure he really uses the book anyway, because what I could do is I could just give you our book and you could Braille all the assignments. Well, no, that wasn't going to happen. She didn't want to do that. And her point was, well, what if he wants to read outside of class? He would not have anything to follow up on. And I said, well, how much does he do of that? And she says, well, I would have to investigate, whatever. I just would feel more comfortable if he has a book. So I came up with a solution. Since this was a brand new book anyway, what is the possibility of our old book being in Braille, and then we could get a copy of that. So we looked into that. We did get him a copy of that. So what was the solution? I would match what I was teaching with that book, a section in that book, so he could at least have some place to go to read. And then he would have a different assignment than we would. I would find out what a page would be similar problems to what I was giving in class. I'm not sure that was the best. I mean, it wouldn't be the ideal situation. Obviously, he didn't have the same problems we had. He didn't know what we were talking about sometimes or whatever. And it was frustrating for him as much as it was frustrating for me. But I tried to pick as close as I could. Sometimes I would Xerox the page he was using and just use it as the assignment for the rest of the class if it was going to be too difficult and I really wanted him to kind of be exactly the same that we were. He has this huge book bag with all his Braille books in it, you know. I was totally amazed where he could tell me where his papers were. I mean, if you would have saw that book bag, I don't know how I would find things in there, but he knew exactly where everything was, which is another thing. I was like, couldn't he get more organized? I mean, to me, it's like, I watched him walk in the first couple days, and I'm thinking, what a mess. I mean, this is never good, you know. But maybe if somebody would have said, they have these, you know, I was expecting, okay, here's the Braille book, you know, regular book. You know, I had no clue that it's going to be, and that ended up being a problem too. He didn't have his book there, so I had to plan ahead of time and say, you need to have such and such a page to such and such a page. There is a problem too with that, and I don't know if that would apply in all situations, but we were being shipped so many volumes, and we would ship so many volumes back. Well, if I skipped a whole bunch, like I went into a different chapter ahead, well, we don't have that chapter. We're not going to get it because it doesn't come into the later shipment. So there was a problem with that too, is I was just thinking it's all there. Just go get it, and it wasn't. But again, that's all communication, or just somebody to come in and say, this is how things work. This is how your textbooks work, how he gets his textbook.